And Ms. Ruth, I'm still open to that list of topics you would like for us to try and find a speaker for as it affects the community. So you let me know and I'll work on it.
Okay.
I will bring Brother Will into it, so it'll be a good job.
Okay, tell me your email. I need to send it for my personal.
The east one is I think it's the Carolines info. That one we normally use, right? The Carolines. Well, let me see. Yeah, the Carolines info that should pop up. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's two places that run. The books.
THE.
Yes.
CRE.
Caroline.
Info.
Oh, be Caroline.
Info.
Okay. At
Gmail.
Gmail.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get the phone right there above the door, where I put my door and door. But yeah, so maybe weirdos, girls coming through, I'd be down like. Because you just have all kind of bunch of folks coming through. And it'd be something. I don't know. Yeah, no, so stay like that. You just broke down that.
Let me know when you sent it, Channing, so I can bring it up.
Oh, I sent it.
You did? Okay. Channing, did you have that stomach last time?
Sorry?
Did you have that stomach last time?
Did not.
Did not.
They're
gonna be 30 feet up. It is a wonderful thing. I don't know. Okay, you guys, we're going to go ahead and get started since we are running a bit behind schedule. I apologize for that. We were doing good this morning until we ran into 8,000 traffic jams. Sister Channing is our speaker. She's been there before. Everybody knows Sister Channing, attorney Channing Guidry. She brought a special guest. Welcome to the group, family. And so, because that wasn't there last time. so remember that. And she's going to talk about a very, very, very important issue that our community, grassroots communities, poor communities are going to have to deal with. As we've been saying for a very long time, this current administration is very, very, very serious about restructuring how this country functions, what certain things look like, how people are able to benefit. And a huge part of that is attacking the social safety net, which are the benefits that most people, a lot of people, millions of people currently need to make their lives, less of a living hell, if you will. So, Attorney Cheney or Attorney Guidry? Attorney Guidry, and yes, is going to talk to us about understanding specifically the WIC and AFDC?
SNAP and Medicaid.
SNAP and Medicaid benefits as they affect everybody in the country. But of course, I'm always focusing on poor people and grassroots people. So with that, you got to give Attorney Guidry a round of applause. She will do her thing this morning.
Okay, so today we're just gonna talk about just basic eligibility for SNAP benefits and Medicaid and the different programs that are offered. And also how they are being impacted currently by the government shutdown and what changes are gonna be made to these programs next year when the big beautiful bill goes into effect in 2026. Okay, all right, next slide.
Sorry.
Next one. Okay, so the SNAP program, it was created in 1964 under Lyndon B. Johnson. It was formerly known as Food Stamps, but now it's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. And it's also known in Texas as the Lone Star Card Program. So it's to help low-income households purchase healthy food. And also people can buy garden seeds with SNAP benefits. So it's just basically encouraging people to eat better food and just live a healthier lifestyle. They are issued on a Lone Star card, and that's basically used as like a debit card when you go into whatever, grocery store, I wouldn't say retail store, but I think there are certain products that might be eligible at like a Target or a Walmart, that kind of thing. So you can use that most grocery stores and select online retailers. Unused benefits can be rolled over from 1 month to the other. Generally speaking, because it is for low income households, people really do use all of their benefits up in a month, and they're usually just waiting on the next month. But if in case you do have any leftover, it will just apply for your next month. And to qualify for SNAP, you need to meet certain eligibility requirement, specifically the income limits, and that's based on the household size. And you also have to have a certain citizenship status. So most adults aged 18 to 54 with no children in their home, those are considered able-bodied adults without dependents. They can only receive benefits for 3 months in a 3-year period. Absent with there's some work and work training requirements that they can participate in to extend their eligibility for the SNAP benefits. It also helps cover medical expenses and again provide support for families with children, with seniors, and also with people with disabilities. Households where members are 60 or older or people with disabilities can participate in what's called the TSAP application, the Texas Simplified Application Project. And basically what that does is it's kind of like a streamlined, expedited process to get your SNAP benefits. It makes it easier for people to apply. And it also provides 3 years of benefits rather than 6 months, because with SNAP benefits, you have to recertify your eligibility every 6 months. Contrary to popular belief, undocumented citizens are not eligible for SNAP assistance. You have to be a US citizen or a legally admitted alien resident. So it means that you have to have a certain documented citizenship status to be eligible for benefits. So there are not people who are undocumented that are receiving these state benefits.
Okay, a quick question. Aside from the current government shutdown, do you know what percentage specifically is being sought after the cut from the SNAP program?
No, but we'll get into some
Okay.
numbers, just in terms of, how many people are even receiving benefits, how many people it's gonna affect. Okay, these are the categories for the legally admitted alien resident. So again, these are very limited circumstances where you would have a documented status but not be a citizen. You'd be an asylee, a battered alien, a conditional entrant, Cuban or Haitian entrant, an Iraqi or Afghan special immigrant. You could have a LPR, lawful permanent resident status, a parolee, refugee, or trafficking victim or some sort of other special immigrant status.
I have a question.
Sure.
What do you mean by Cuban or Asian entrant?
They have some specific, citizenship, or let me say, documented statuses for people specifically coming from Cuba or Haiti. It's kind of nuanced, so I didn't get really too much into it, but specifically, there are programs for people who are coming from those countries because of things that have happened with their government, where they can be granted a specific status that would make them eligible for benefits when they come here.
Thank you.
And okay, so the first most important thing is that you have to have a certain income to even qualify for SNAP, because again, it's for low income households. So I won't go over each line, but basically it goes by family size, which also includes parents and children. So family of 3, for example, your income can't be higher than 3,665, and that's gross, not net. So a lot of times people are saying, well, I know I get, this X amount of money every month, but I have to pay my car note and I have to pay my light bill and all of these different things. State of Texas doesn't care if on paper, this is what your gross income amount is, then regardless of anything else that you have to pay for, you would not be income eligible. If that's, we're talking even $1, $5 over. And then, like I said, it goes up to households who are possibly even bigger than that. Add 757 to whatever the monthly income is to qualify. These are the SNAP monthly allotments. So this is the most amount of SNAP benefits that you can get on a month based on your family size. So as you can see, for a household of 4, you could get up to almost $1,000 a month allotted for SNAP. So that's a pretty high amount that can really help families out, particularly right now. Okay, so we discussed able-bodied adult without dependents. The thing about SNAP is that it does help a lot of families, but there are, certain individuals that don't have any children who do also apply for SNAP. And because of that, there is a work requirement for those people. It applies the month after a person turns 18, and it stops applying the month the person turns 55. So to meet the work requirements, you have to be working 20 hours per week, averaging 80 hours a month. Or you have to be participating or complying with the requirements of a work program, again, 20 hours a week. A combination of working and participating in a work program. And you also have to be participating through the SNAP employment and training program. So when you are an able-bodied adult without dependents, they send you a whole bunch of information on work training, and they will actually help place you. So it's not that, if you can't find a job or you don't know of a work training program, SNAP will definitely provide that information from you, and then it is your responsibility to comply if you want to keep getting out those benefits.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Why does it stop at 55?
Because they don't want to have the same requirements for people who are considered seniors or elderly, so they just have a cutoff limit. Yes.
Okay. On this work requirement,
Mhm.
I know for someone that's quote unquote in my household that's supposed to be in that program.
Mhm.
And they've been in this program almost for 3 years now. And everything that you just said, they not doing none of this.
Hmm.
So how are they still getting?
I can't speak to that. I mean, usually the state of Texas is pretty on it with people who fail to participate. But we can't, well, the next slide is gonna be about exemption, so they could have an exemption. And that could be why they're not being, charged with a work requirement violation.
Can I ask one?
Yes,
Okay. With the way the government is treating you, and I'm gonna say us, black and brown people. Do you see them looking more deeper into the qualifications?
Good question.
yes.
Good question.
Let me say, we're gonna discuss that at the end, but the short answer is yes, I do. Next slide. Okay, so the SNAP work requirements, unless someone is exempt, there are work requirements that have to be met in order to continue receiving SNAP longer than 3 months. That's what normally would happen if you're an able-bodied without dependent. So again, we talked about the 20 hours of work per week. A SNAP recipient is exempt from the ABOG work requirements. I don't know if this applies to the person living with you. If they're pregnant, living in a SNAP household where someone is under the age of 14, so caring for a minor, under the age of 18 or age 65 or older, they could be living in what they consider a waiver area. I haven't heard of anybody living in a waiver area. Let's just say Harris County is not a waiver area. Or a county where they don't have the SNAP employment and training, probably more rural areas where they just don't have as many like resources and opportunities. If they're physically or mentally unfit to work. An Indian, urban Indian, California Indian, or Alaskan Native, so any sort of like indigenous group. A veteran, or if they're homeless, then they're not subject to the work requirement as an able-bodied, without dependent. So I don't know if any of those applies, but that's.
So per Brother Will's question, I'm assuming that there is no active oversight. People come out to make sure that whomever is on SNAP is actually following all the rules to be on SNAP. I'm assuming.
Basic notices.
Okay.
And the thing with the SNAP EMT training is like they will send a notice that says you need to show up at this place
Mhm.
or call at this time. And then if you don't call in at that time or show up at that place, then it gets reported to HHSC and they will send you a notice telling you you failed to participate and they will deny your benefits or cut them off.
So do you think within the amount of time that you have been on this program, surely by now, because they don't call you, send you referrals, whatever, surely by now you should have been accepted something, they don't give you a deadline to accept.
Oh, they do, cause they'll give you a date that you need to, and that includes responding, even if, say, there's a reason why you can't get in. For example, I had a client who she didn't have any transportation, so they kept sending her the EMT training, show up here at this time, and she kept calling them and saying, I can't come in because I don't have transportation. That was actually a valid exemption from her participating in the work training. But it's always about communication, because if you just don't respond to the notice, they're gonna just assume that you're being non-compliant.
Yep.
Continue. Okay, so we really kind of talked about these, so I'll just briefly discuss these. But I will say, like I said, a lot of people who are receiving SNAP are families, they're parents of children who are minor, who are under the age of 14. So they're already exempted from any sort of work requirements. But technically, the able-bodied adult without dependent requirements are separate from general SNAP work requirements. So these are some of the other reasons why you could be exempted from work. Again, you're already working, caring for children, caring for somebody disabled, you are living in, or you were in a drug or alcohol treatment rehabilitation program, you're in a county where you're exempt from it. And even, contrary to popular belief, most people who are receiving SNAP are working. They're the working poor, as they call it.
Right.
So this idea that people are just, sitting around collecting benefits without going to work, that's really actually not true. That's a myth that they're telling people.
Mm.
Most people are already working and they're just not making enough money, or their household is too big just to be able to pay for, how expensive food and different things are, so. Okay, so just some notes about benefits. In Texas, an average about $400 a month is paid out to qualifying individuals. And 3.5 million Texans, including 1.7 million children, depend on SNAP assistance every month, which is a very extremely high number. If you want to apply, you can apply at your Texas benefits. That says comp, but it's really .gov. Or again, they have the streamlined TSEP application for the disabled or the adult over 65. Now, one important thing to note, before I get to lost stolen benefits, is that SNAP benefits cannot be used to buy tobacco, alcohol, things that are not food or drink items, and it can't pay for food bills that you owe. But it can be used for online purchases for, products and items that are eligible. There is, an issue going on right now that's called SNAP skimming, where people are hacking into people's Lone Star card accounts. And they are stealing their benefits off their card without physically having their card present.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
a very
Wow.
big
Yeah.
ongoing issue, that we've gone back and forth with the state of Texas trying to address, because often victims of the skimming, HHSC does not replace those benefits that were lost,
Mm.
and that's something that we're trying to work on.
Even if they can prove that they've been hacked.
Yeah, it's a very,
That's right.
it's a very
Wow.
complicated issue right now, and I don't know what to say, how to prevent it, because it's a cyber.
It's a cybercrime, yeah.
Issue. But HHSC is aware of it, and it actually probably has more to do with maybe a lack of security on their end in terms of.
You think?
People have
Really?
it rather than yourself. The other way that it could happen is like if you go to a particular location and they keep your information for whatever reason and are able to keep, processing it, or they're running some sort of scam at that location, etc. So that's something that is an issue. If it is, obviously contact Lone Star Legal Aid, because that is something that we can help with, and it's something that we're trying to gather information on how many people it's impacting, so that possibly we could do some impact litigation with that.
Yeah.
The other thing is that your benefits can be lost or stolen, which happens. Obviously, you lose your card somewhere. People's cards are stolen out of their mailbox, etc. I will say that you have a specialized PIN that is associated with your Lone Star card. So I will say it's less likely that somebody on the street could just use your Lone Star card without knowing that personal information for you, but it could happen. If that happens, you can request a new card and PIN, and you can freeze your account. To try to make sure that nobody steals those benefits in the meantime, because it is a little bit complicated to get replacement benefits. They are authorized to issue replacement benefits when your benefits are lost or stolen within 90 days of your request. And you have to do that by visiting the local Health and Human Services Commission office, and you have to fill out a specific form discussing, how this occurred, what transactions were not authorized, etc. You can do this twice in each fiscal year. If that happens to you.
So you're saying, oh, wait.
In the meantime,
Mhm.
what do those people do?
Yeah.
Starve?
Yeah.
They have to wait. They're just.
90 days, you said?
For
Well,
the
you have
next
to
month, if you
request
can.
it within 90 days. So if the lost or stolen benefits happened 6 months ago, you're precluded from requesting replacement benefits. So you have to become aware of the issue and then kind of immediately act on it. And then hopefully they will replace them, but I do know people have waited a significant period of time to even get those replacement benefits. In the meantime, you're kind of just out of luck, unfortunately.
And that's crazy because if something happens with your bank account, you can call your bank and they'll refund your funds and lock your card up or freeze your card and send you another one immediately.
Right,
And we're talking about food.
yes.
So it is amazing that if you can prove that you've been hacked, I didn't make these purchases, I don't know where they came from, and if you can prove it and they still make you wait, that is a major issue, especially now.
Right.
Wow. Wow, that's
They're
sad.
very skeptical, so they always assume that,
The
you know,
worst.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're not gonna assume that your benefits were really unauthorized, they're gonna assume they were and you're trying to double dip or whatever it is.
Right.
They don't give people the benefit of the doubt in those
And
situations.
people have done that,
Yes, absolutely.
unfortunately.
Mhm.
Well,
So that's just like, for me,
Mhm.
when mine was had, I went to, a Dollar General. Swipe on, I get hit on 27th.
Mhm.
Okay, I went to Dollar General, picked up a couple of items. Then at midnight, which would be the 28th, you know, my car was hit. It started off like another small amount, but I didn't know. And then that Sunday,
Mhm.
I just went to the corner store to pick up a little stuff. The woman said, decline.
mm,
She said, I know you,
Yeah,
so you don't come in here with a decline card.
right.
So she said, go home, because at first the limit was swiping for a penny.
Mhm.
Still, she said, you need to go check the card.
Yeah.
Went back to the house, checked. And then I went through the transaction history. It started that day, I was going to say 12 o'clock, because it was the very next day.
yeah,
And they start off with a small amount, and I guess when they did withdrew, they did two small amounts.
Mhm.
Then on the third time, they just wiped everything.
yeah.
I'm like, wow. So when I called them, Social Security, not Social Security, food stamp,
Yeah.
they just told me pretty much what you just said. We can't replace it, all that we can do is shut that card down,
They give you.
send you a new card,
Yeah,
and then come back around, you get the new card. There's this thing what you can call freeze.
mhm. Yeah,
You go into a freeze, and you have to unlock your card each time you get it ready. Well, I think, I said, oh, that's something like that. But I guess
Right.
you're gonna be going to do that.
it's a lot for you to remember to do. Freeze, unfreeze, lock or unlock your card just to prevent something that's completely out of your control.
So as a card holder, the individual can freeze their account?
Yes,
Yeah,
they
you
can.
freeze-
So I guess to be on the safe side, a person should, after every purchase, freeze it
Yeah,
and unfreeze it.
that's what they would.
Well, I guess that's something.
It's something,
Yeah.
but again, it's a lot of responsibility on the part of.
Yeah, but that was
card
so,
holder.
they used to replace, that's what I was told, they used to replace your benefits when they get stolen.
But
But
there's,
now it's been cut out.
yeah, really because there's such a high volume of this happening that, you know, they're not trying to repay.
All that
these
kind of
benefits
money.
out.
You know, and in their defense, I can understand, you lying. I get that, people do things. So it would make more sense if they would immediately give the people the benefits that they said were stolen. Then if you're found to be, not being honest,
they'll
then the
charge
next
you
time
back.
around they'll that would make more sense because you don't want. I can imagine, I've had rough times when my kids were little, had to go on food stamps because my family got to eat. I can imagine, man, you got 3 kids and your car ain't working.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
See, that's why people commit crimes.
We have to wait
But they,
Yeah.
but they
you have to
know
wait
it's
till the
gonna
very
be,
next month.
I know.
Remember your
Get the
day,
money
you
back.
got to get it.
Yeah, what'd you say?
they know it's gonna be hard to get the money back from whoever they paid it out to if they do find that it's a fraudulent claim.
Why is it hard if it's all electronic?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Why is it hard if it's all electronic?
No, I'm saying if they were to issue the benefits to the person,
Okay,
just based on them saying, this was a fraudulent charge, I didn't make it.
right.
And then they find out that that is not true,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be harder for them to get the money back.
No, I'm not saying give it back. I'm saying
Oh,
I'm saying whatever that amount you said was stolen, if it's found that you were not being honest,
Yeah.
the next time around, your whatever money you normally get is
Yeah.
less that amount because
Yeah.
we've given that to you as opposed to, it actually being stolen.
They could do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you should talk to them.
but that's pretty much like, right.
I know, right? I know.
That's that.
Yeah, amen, amen. Okay, I'm sorry, you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so now we'll talk about Medicaid. Medicaid was not expanded under the Affordable Care Act, in Texas specifically. So this varies from state to state. So sometimes people get confused because they call me and they tell me, well, I moved from Maine or Mississippi or some other California, someplace where they expanded Medicaid, which means that they expanded the eligibility for Medicaid. In Texas, it's extremely limited. So if you are really not caring for a minor child, if you are not a pregnant woman, if you do not receive SSI, those are the main things. You are not eligible for Medicaid as an adult in the state of Texas. So people who are calling me who are just, low income and they need some sort of health insurance, Texas is the wrong place to be. Because that's
Wow. Keep it real, Channy.
You
We're in the wrong state, y'all.
better go back to California if that's what you want, because in Texas, you're not gonna get it unless you fall in these very limited categories.
Very limited.
And the income for qualifications, it varies by the category. But ultimately, they take a percentage of you being at the federal poverty line to determine how much your income can be before you're eligible for it in the state of Texas. The resource limit is $2,000 for an individual, $3,000 for a couple. So that includes cash, assets, what's in your bank account, investments, etc. Don't have $2,001 in a bank account, because if you do and they find it, you are not eligible for Medicaid until that bank account is lower than the resource limit.
Can you give a brief difference between Medicaid and Medicare? I often get those two mixed up.
Okay, so Medicare is specifically for people who are age 65 or older, or receiving Social Security, disability, or retirement benefits. And that's actually, so if they're receiving Social Security, disability, or retirement benefits, they have to have received them either for 24 months if they're under 65, or it automatically applies when they're 65. So there are some people who get stuck where they're getting Social Security, disability benefits, but they're not 65 yet and they just started getting them. So they're not eligible for Medicare, but they're also not eligible for Medicaid, because with Medicaid, you have to be getting SSI,
Right,
because
right.
that's the very low income Social Security benefit. You cannot be receiving disability. So they're kind of stuck in the middle. Usually if they can't afford the Affordable Care Act, usually they can't afford private insurance. So usually the only thing they're eligible for is the Harris County Gold Card, which is the
That is
indigent
true.
health care program. Which is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Is that
I'd rather had my gold card than had my Medicare card.
Well,
I'm
because
not
of the
lying.
cost,
I'd rather
right?
had, because that's what I was stuck with. When my husband retired, I went and got a Medicaid, but I had to lie to get a Medicare card.
Girl, this on a recording. We live on Facebook.
I should have
Her name is Becky Anderson.
Medicare card.
Yeah.
And I did get it. But cause with the income, with being married, I couldn't get a Medicare card. And then I also wasn't eligible for Obamacare.
Right.
Okay.
Cause they wanted too much money
Yeah.
to get Medicare, to get to the
Yeah, it's very-
Medicare. I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
So the only place I could do was get the Medicare card.
Mhm.
And that was the only way, because I was on seizure medicine, blood pressure medicine. So I had to have my medicine. I'd rather lie.
Yeah.
That-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Of course.
Yeah. And Channing, is that a common issue whereby people are kind of stuck,
Yeah.
not being able to get Medicare?
They're stuck in the middle because, they don't meet any of this criteria.
Yeah.
But they're also not 65.
Right.
You can have health issues before the age of 65. you can have health issues without being on social security disability.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, then you're kind of just, there's nothing that applies that's for you.
Yeah.
But really the difference is Medicare is for people who are older, let's say, and Medicaid is for people who are younger that would fall into these categories.
Okay.
I have a quick question for you, move to the next slide. What if individual was injured
Mhm.
and they was working and then they got hurt, but now they can't, quote unquote, so they say, can't work anymore, but every time they apply for Medicaid, they can't even get a social security. Right, I can understand social security, because they say there's not enough waters,
Mhm.
but they can't even get, any type of, medical insurance through the government. This, to
That's
the
one-
age.
That's one of those situations where they're really stuck with no option other than the indigent healthcare program. Cause if you're not getting the SSI, I mean, you could call yourself disabled, but if you're not officially getting that social security benefit, you can't get Medicaid.
Yeah.
And Medicaid is one of the hardest things to give people. I refuse Medicaid, because Medicaid looks into everything that you have.
Of course.
If you got a house, I've seen it where the people have put on Medicaid for being sick,
Mhm.
and they have sold the people's house to get their money back.
Then who the government?
We'll get to that.
Oh.
Yeah.
The Medicaid estate
Yeah.
recovery
They take
program.
What?
Yeah.
So yes,
Wow.
we're almost there actually. So Medicaid services include doctor visits, vendor drugs, nursing facility services, and also long-term care. So you could have general Medicaid eligibility, which includes just those basic things we're talking about, or you could be applying for long-term care under Medicaid. That's where those issues come in with the homes and stuff like that. So the long-term care for seniors will pay for care in nursing homes. It will pay for care in your home, assisted living residence, and other settings through the programs. They're called nursing home Medicaid. There's the home and community-based services waiver program, and then there's Medicaid for the elderly and people with disabilities. So these programs are different from regular Medicaid in the sense that they're financially limited for people of all ages. So you could potentially be a younger person who would need the long-term care.
Mhm.
And so there's different eligibility requirements. So you might be able to qualify for long-term care services in a situation where you would not be eligible for general Medicaid.
Right. So given what Miss Becky said,
Mhm.
yeah, you gotta look out for my peoples. What Miss Becky said, if you're going to try and get these services that are available to you, you need to be on the up and up, because if you're not, you're gonna have to pay for that in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So the first one is, these two are kind of similar, nursing home Medicaid and Texas Human Community Based Service waivers. They're similar in the sense that the criteria, for qualifying is similar. You have to need a nursing facility level of care, which means that you basically would need to be in a nursing home, but there are certain situations where you might want to remain in your home and they would allow you to do so. You have to again meet the asset limit and the income test to be financially eligible. The asset limit is always $2,000. But the income level is actually $2,900 a month to qualify for either of these two programs. And these are the types of services that they, pay for. Again, with the nursing home Medicaid, you're gonna be in the nursing home. So whatever services come with being in a nursing home, that's what they would be paying for. If you're at home, it's basically where you have an attendant come and care for you. So somebody who's able to help you do your activities of daily living, bathing, dressing, cooking, cleaning, all of those kinds of things. And then it allows you to be able to stay in the comfort of your home without having to go to a nursing home. Yes?
What about night? Nighttime?
Uh,
They cover that?
Oh, good question.
to be honest, they usually are there in the daytime hours. Sometimes people get really lucky with their, providers and they kind of give them extra time that they're not being paid for just because they really bond with the client and they wanna help them. But for the most time, they really schedule daytime hours. So there is a gap with people who would need nighttime care. I think that's kind of where it comes in, that that person might actually need to be in a nursing home. If it's kind of 24/7 round the clock care that they would need.
Because the reason why I asked that particular question is because my mom, the provider, gave her special attention after her hours
Right,
were over.
right.
And I so appreciated it.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
How could you not? Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, that's when you get really lucky, somebody who just really sees the need and wants to fill the gap. Because usually, like I said, and I don't know, it could be like a liability issue about staying overnight. I'm not sure what it is, but from my experience, I've never heard of them having to provide care overnight. It's usually there's a cutoff time,
Yeah.
maybe even in the evening, but they're not there.
And that's a sad reality, cutting off care. That is and that's another reason why community is so important, because you know, if your neighbors know and you have that bond, then they can come by and look out for you.
Yeah.
Because you have that need for need. Right.
Yeah.
How many hours?
They can, it depends on the need of the person, but they can provide, you know, about 40 hours a week. Yes, so sometimes people do get, you know, a 9 to 5 type of situation with their care. I would say on average, I've usually seen about 20-25 hours a week.
Okay.
That most people.
Are those caregivers rare?
I'm sorry,
Are those caregivers rare? I mean, is there enough of them to do the job, or is there a?
I haven't heard of any shortages in that
Yeah.
arena.
That's pretty awesome.
So, yeah.
Yeah, if you can
so
get it,
that's
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
This is Medicaid for the elderly and people with disabilities. This is specifically for people who are age 65 or older or disabled. And the limit, as you can see, for the income to qualify is a little bit lower than it is for the other two programs. This specifically, the functional requirements are, it covers physician's visits, prescription medication, emergency room visits, and short-term hospital stays. And again, the state conducts an assessment to determine whether you're eligible. So it's not just you saying, I'm disabled, I'm receiving social security. Somebody is gonna come out to your house and evaluate your needs and determine your eligibility for any of these 3 programs.
Okay. Would you by any chance know, Channing, if other countries like Canada, or maybe even Cuba, that provide healthcare services across the board, do you know how we compare to those other countries?
I do not,
You do not, yeah.
no.
Okay.
Is there another way around Medicaid?
In what way?
If you can do something else, if you need help, is there another way that you don't have to use Medicaid?
Like another program?
Another program?
Not that I know of, not that's gonna provide these specific. I mean, other than you having to, you know, pay out of pocket and seek your own home health care aid and
Yeah.
pay for that.
And if you're looking for the program, you probably don't have the money to pay out of pocket. I mean.
Exactly,
really unrealistic,
exactly.
yeah.
Well, and even people, families who are looking for these types of services, they most always want the state to pay if they can. So
Right.
say, you know, you have a brother or a sister or a parent, even if you yourself have resources, a lot of times you're still going to try to get your parent to qualify for these programs because it just still takes the financial burden off of you.
Yeah,
And that's usually what happens.
and that's real. That's life. Yes, ma'am.
So it would be better to take that house out of people's name and stuff
Yeah.
out of people's name before you even decide to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
To get that stuff out of people's name, because like I say, they will come back
Wow.
That's the
Take
next
this-
slide, I think.
Does Lone Star Legal Aid have anyone that specializes? 'Cause that's something that I need to do as far as finding a speaker. There's so many, like we talked about last week when it comes to trust.
Mhm.
There's so many things that we don't know as a community as it relates to financial planning, where to put your stuff, where not to put your stuff. Does Lone Star have anyone that specializes in that kind of area?
We have a housing and consumer unit that maybe could speak to, let me say, estate planning or being transfers of property. So I can reach out to them and see.
Okay, yeah, that'd be a good idea, because there's so many things in these spaces that we just don't know.
Yeah.
We don't get that kind of training.
So just some important notes, if you are receiving Texas Nursing Home Medicaid, you're only allowed to keep $75 a month of your income, because everything else is going towards your care.
Yeah.
So this is called a personal needs allowance.
What?
I mean, the.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
that,
Yeah.
because most everything else that you need is being paid for, their assumption is that you only need $75 left to be able to just pay for like little things that you might want. And that's also where maybe your family steps in. Because like I said, because they don't have that financial responsibility of paying for the actual facility and the care, then they can maybe give you a few more dollars, because obviously $75 a month is not much regardless.
So the assumption is the program, the services, the benefits are taking care of the essentials, so to
Yes.
speak. This is your play money.
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
Exactly.
Got you.
$75.
And
That's because you play hard.
not these
Yeah,
days.
not these days. Amen. I know.
And so again, your home is usually your most valuable asset. And because most people, if it was counted, excuse me, against your asset limit of $2,000, most people would not be eligible, right? So your home is actually an exempt asset while you're qualifying for the Medicaid program. Now the issue comes in where the states are trying to collect reimbursement for the care the person received after the death of the Medicaid recipient. So that's where you do have to know about your transfer and death deed, which is a very simple document that can be executed without having to probate, draft a will, anything like that. Literally a form that you sign, notarize, and record that says, upon my death, my property shall be transferred automatically to X, Y, and Z person. Well, then that would eliminate a situation like that.
So hold on. So if a person is on Medicaid, they have a home and they pass, the Medicaid people, I was gonna say Gestapo, the Medicaid people, they are looking for reimbursement from services?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why are they looking for reimbursement for services?
That's what they look for.
That I can't all the way explain.
I mean-
Because again, they're treating it as an exempt resource while you are alive receiving,
Uh-huh.
but then after you're no longer here, they will try to recover the money that they've paid. I guess
Right.
in the easiest way to say.
So that's not really a
the
benefit.
state is always looking to try to
Get their money.
get their money back in some way for whatever they
So it's not a benefit then.
paid out.
No.
It can't be while the person is here. And
But-
if you know how to play it, then it should not come back against
That's
you,
what's better what
but
Sister Becky was saying. You
Yeah.
gotta know the rules and know how to play it.
you do, you
I
do.
know.
Jesus, Lord have mercy.
So,
And
You did tell us, Becky. All right, gotta protect our gangsters right here. Okay, Miss Fine.
situation, my mother, I moved her down from Louisiana so that she could be around people all the time.
Mhm.
So she basically did not have a home. It was my
Your
home.
home, right,
So
right.
they could
So there's
come after
nothing to
that.
recover at that point.
Mhm.
So yes, like you said, it's just all about knowing.
well, I've
that.
seen 3 houses
Mhm.
that
Really?
family tried to sell
Mhm.
and thought they would sell it, but the state come back
Yes.
and made them sell it. And gave
Jesus
them what was
Christ.
left.
So that goes back to what you were saying earlier. This estate planning thing is a big deal.
Yeah, oh, absolutely,
Especially if you have someone who's getting benefit, quote unquote benefits.
yes,
And that's scary.
yeah.
So what about?
Who knew?
Inherit property, like when my mom had our, we all inherit her property.
Uh-huh,
But what I did, and I know how they work, Medicaid, what I did, I took my share and I signed an affidavit and turned it over to my sister.
mhm.
Now, if anything should happen, meaning she brought all me in, would they come back after her for that happened?
Was your mother on Medicaid?
Uh,
Was your mother on Medicaid? Okay.
Oh,
So-
well, no.
Yeah, well, she
Not
would
at
qualify,
that.
yeah.
oh,
Yeah, it's only if you're on Medicaid.
Yeah.
Oh,
If
they
it's
gonna come and get it.
specifically if
So
you're
could
receiving
I,
the
could I
long-term
still
care.
end up?
What if he's saying is if he go on Medicaid,
Yeah.
would they come back?
Or if he goes to Medicaid.
But I'm on
If
Medicaid.
he could, if he.
He's on Medicaid now.
But are you getting, you're not
He's
getting
like
long-term
long-term.
care services though.
Oh,
This is specifically really applies to nursing home Medicaid.
thank you.
Just because I mean, if you ever looked into placing something in a nursing home, it's very expensive.
Yeah.
Most people would never be able to do that out of pocket
Now,
without having this
Absolutely.
program.
Absolutely.
now one of these ladies was not in use.
Mhm.
She's at home.
Oh, probably getting the
She was at home.
community-based waiver.
This last lady from our church,
Mhm,
on they did right down Lockwood, right on 59,
mhm.
and they need to be selling house.
So the
She wasn't a nurse.
the number of people who are, is this a lot of people, a large number that are on long-term care?
Yeah.
It's a lot of people.
yeah.
And typically when it comes to government institutions, it's not as nice as other places. So are these people getting good care in these institutions or compared?
It varies by nursing home. I've heard certain
Lord.
situations where it's going great and others where it's not so good. I mean, and
Wow.
that's just nursing homes in general,
Yeah.
you know, it depends on the
Yeah.
staff who's working there. It depends on the
Yeah.
family involvement and
Yeah.
participation, just
Yeah.
like with anything.
And stay on top of it, yeah.
People treat people who don't have anybody looking after them not as well as somebody who has their family
Yeah.
constantly visiting and checking up on stuff like that.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it
Okay.
really varies.
So why did they
That's awful.
say,
That's awful.
so why did they say if you are on Medicaid, you can't have, first, I think you did go through that earlier, any type of, like property, stuff like that.
You can have a property. It's just that when you're no longer here, it can become an issue in terms of them trying to reimburse themselves for the care that was
What is
provided.
that called when they try to come back and get reimbursement? What is that called?
Well, they call it specifically the Medicaid estate recovery
Yeah,
that they try.
And they're trying to recover monies that,
that you owe him.
That was spent.
That's why they ask you, when you sign for Medicaid, they ask you. What, they go into your bank account, they ask you your bank number, they ask you your, do you own your home?
Mhm.
And do you have property, do you have all, do you have, they go specifically with all you have, and trust me, they run that social security card. If you have anything over than what, like she said, $1 over what they supposed to do.
Mhm. So they're doing that to make sure you qualify for the
Yeah.
program.
Not
'Cause they-
really to see how much money you got, cause if you long time and you got to go into a nursing home, they're not gonna turn you down because they figure they can get their money back on your property.
Well,
Okay.
they'll totally turn you down if you're over the asset limit,
Right.
all of those other things, but they're gonna exempt your home to qualify. The point of the matter is, and this is gonna come up at the end, but the state and the government, they do not want to pay for these things.
Right.
So they're not looking for ways to help you qualify. They are looking for ways for you to not qualify.
Right.
Because ultimately, this is money that they don't wanna spend. They want people to, you know, do whatever they have to do
Be
on their
self-sufficient,
own
huh?
to pay for these things. And if they find that you're able to, which means, okay, we know that even if you had $10,000 in your bank account, that's only gonna get you so far in a nursing home.
Right.
They don't care. They'd rather you spend your own money doing this than spending their money to do it.
So-
I
so
mean,
it's-
that's just the bottom line.
It's not looked at like Social Security, like you paid into the system, so these are your benefits.
No. It's different, cause I
Okay.
mean, you technically haven't paid.
Right, right,
into
right,
it
right.
In that way, so this is just really for need, it's a need-based program.
Sure, okay, okay.
Oh, I have a
Okay.
question before we move. Now, like my mother, I moved her from another state, Louisiana, into Texas.
Yes,
Do they look at that property in Louisiana?
that I don't know. I don't know, so I don't wanna tell you the wrong
I
answer.
don't know why they wouldn't look at property, period, if it's in this country and it's part of the program.
But you know, there's different.
I didn't say that.
There's different Medicaid rules and programs that vary by state.
State, okay.
So I don't know how that would work actually.
Lone Star don't have an equivalent in other states? No, sister?
Oh, we do.
Okay.
We do. We have Acadiana Legal Services in Lafayette, have Southeastern Legal Services in Hammond.
Okay.
There's a legal aid pretty much in every
You need to
state.
go to Louisiana legally.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and there's also different rules about how property
What they don't-
is transferred and shared in Louisiana.
Right.
Okay, so then there's also children's Medicaid. Again, this is for low income families. There's no cost to receive services if your family is eligible. If you are not eligible financially for children's Medicaid, you could possibly be eligible through CHIP, which is the Children's Health Insurance Program. And in order to be eligible, you have to be 18 years of age or younger. Some cases, children who are disabled, who are over the age of 18 could possibly get Medicaid. Again, a Texas resident, US citizen or qualified non-citizen, and you have to be income eligible. These are the income limits based on household size for children's Medicaid. As you can see, it's actually pretty low if you really think about it. For a household of three, barely making $3,000 a month, that would be the cutoff for you to even qualify for children's Medicaid, which is why they have CHIP, because the income limits are a little bit higher.
Yeah,
To still
I'm
qualify.
looking at these numbers and hell, if your mortgage is gonna be 85-90% of what you're bringing in anyway.
Those are somebody.
I mean, Jesus Lord.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even, the thing that's different about children's Medicaid and CHIP is that CHIP is not free services, so there is, sort of we'll call it a nominal fee, but you do have to pay something for CHIP services, even if it's like $20 or $30.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why people would rather get Medicaid.
Yeah.
So these are some services that are covered by children's Medicaid and CHIP: regular checkups at the doctor and dentist, medicine, vaccines, hospital care services, x-rays, lab tests, vision, hearing care, access to medical specialists, which is very important if you have children who have a disability, mental health care, and treatment of special health needs and pre-existing conditions. So it really covers everything. Children who are getting Medicaid, I mean, it's very vital and important for them, in their development and their health and everything.
And you can't have both as one or the other.
What?
It's Medicaid and CHIP.
You would either qualify for Medicaid or CHIP.
Gotcha.
Medicaid is what you would want to qualify for, because again, it's free and you get all of these things. But if your income's a little too high, there's at least something that's an alternative to the, Affordable Care Act.
Right.
Or the Harris County Gold Card, where you could still get these types of services. You just might have to pay a little bit of money out of your own pocket.
Is it quote unquote free with an asterisk in that they're gonna try and come back? Okay.
No.
Okay. Need your child's shoes.
They only do that when it's like a cash benefit, where they try to get their money back, Children with disabilities can also get long-term care services. So I can't see why a child would be in a nursing home per se, but they might be in some sort of medical facility for an extended period of time. A hospital, they could get somebody to help them take their kids to and from medical appointments. Somebody, again, can come to your home and be an attendant, provide care. That's where your child would qualify for those long-term care services. similar to Medicaid for the home and community-based waiver program. And so again, those kinds of benefits are also eligible to your children as well.
I have a question at this point. What happens to an adult when they first they go backwards and are just like children instead of an adult? And they apply for childhood Medicaid?
No, because they're not a child.
I know this, but
Yeah,
they.
I'm just saying, yeah.
You know,
No,
Yeah.
they wouldn't, they would still qualify as under the adult eligibility guidelines, but again, they would be, that's somebody who might have like Alzheimer's, dementia.
Yeah.
Something
Yes.
like that, they would probably qualify for either the nursing home or the attendant care
Mhm.
services.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, so the impact of the government shutdown on SNAP. As we stated, there are 3.5 million low-income Texans that are among more than 40 million Americans that receive SNAP each month. I mean, that's such a significant, huge
Lot of people.
number of people
Yeah.
every month.
Yeah,
And so even though HHSC, Health and Human Services Commission, distributes SNAP, it's technically the USDA that is, let's all call them the gatekeeper of the funds. And so that's what's happening right now. The reason why SNAP benefits are not going out, and they have it very clear on their website, because I just checked last night, it says you will not get your SNAP benefits for November while the government is shut down. They notified states that if the shutdown did not end by October 27, so time's up on
Yeah.
Monday.
yeah.
Benefits would be halted on November 1st. And while it doesn't look like the shutdown, the end is anywhere in sight. That means people are gonna go for an extended period of time. It could possibly roll into December where they're not getting their benefit.
Yeah.
The only bright side to that, let me say, is that, once the federal shutdown ends, recipients should receive any missed payments. That's great, but that doesn't help you right now.
In the meantime, yeah, you gotta
So-
get to that point.
Exactly, and so all I can say and suggest is that, obviously they've already discussed. Food banks are gonna be a lot busier, any sort of resource in the community that provides food
Yeah,
is going to be swamped. Because those places are already in existence.
right.
And they're usually there just to supplement the fact that people are getting SNAP, because
Yeah.
it's still not usually enough. Now, they're going to be the only lifeline for these people,
Yeah.
and it remains to be seen what
Yeah.
that's gonna look
I
like.
used to volunteer at a local food bank here, and we would open at 11. I think 11 or 1:30 when we actually distribute the food, put in people's cars.
Yeah.
And I would get there at 6:30 to set up, because it took that long to get everything set up. And there would already be people in line. I mean, like a mile and a half long,
Yeah.
2 miles.
Yeah.
And they would wait for 3 or 4 hours. And like you just said, at that point we were supplementing, but now these people are getting nothing.
That's gonna be all that they're able to get. And Thanksgiving is coming,
Jesus
it's a
Lord.
holiday
Yeah,
season, so
yeah.
it's very, it's a travesty,
Yeah.
honestly.
One question.
Thankfully,
Okay.
you're, oh, yeah,
So that means, looking at this time, and I heard what you said. So that means that is a possibility that's there, which I don't think it's gonna be out there. As far as me, in my case, I vacated on the 27th of November. That may be quote, I may be able to get it if we go back into session.
possibly.
Possibly, but if we don't, whatever they go back into session, when they do that backup payment and the
Yes.
November and December,
They will give you any missed payments,
so you'll get a double payment.
Yeah.
yes.
Oh,
So
okay.
you'll get that,
Yeah, but it means that you start, yeah.
I got something there.
Yeah.
hopefully people have some unused benefits on their
Yeah,
cards.
but see, like most people, I remember when we were on it briefly, we use those benefits.
Yes, most people use them.
Yeah, you use
They
it.
have
We
to.
didn't have no extra discretionary because
No.
our kids ate.
Right. That's the truth. Most people don't.
Yeah,
have
yeah.
left over. Thankfully, right now, your Medicaid coverage is not affected during the government shutdown, but just in general, with there being less federal workers, it can still cause issues to the care possibly.
And that's
that
another
might
thing,
be
less federal
receiving.
workers, so
Yeah.
that you're cutting back on staff,
Yeah.
you're cutting back on resources.
Mhm.
You got a shutdown that wasn't necessary. It's like all these things. Anyway, blah blah blah. I deal with that when it comes out. Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
It's real.
so SNAP is really the flashpoint right now, I will say, with the government shutdown.
Yeah.
Next year, there are some significant changes coming to all of the programs,
Significant.
because to your point, they are going to be actively looking for reasons and ways to kick people off of these programs, because they don't want them on it, and that's just what they've made clear by even implementing these changes. So specifically, effective April 1st of next year, SNAP recipients cannot use benefits to purchase candy or sweetened drinks, and they have a whole examples of what candy entails, and we're talking about even, what did they say, nuts that have, chocolate or whatever it is, that's not gonna be counted. Anything with like crystallized sugar, anything they can consider to be candy. Sweetened drinks, anything that there's a certain percentage of like of water that it can't be or whatever to make it considered a sweetened drink under their purposes. So
Okay.
yeah, it will effectively limit certain things you can purchase. And then the other thing is that they are ramping up the work requirement for SNAP. As we know, where there already is one specifically for able-bodied adults without dependents, but they're just gonna make it that much harder for even people who have dependents at this point. For example, I think we discussed that technically the work requirement stopped at the age of 55. Well, now it's gonna increase to 64, as we discussed with the able-bodied.
That's a big jump.
Yeah, 10 years, that's a huge
That's a big
deal.
jump.
Again, work requirement, if you are not in a work training program, you're going to have to do even community service,
Mhm.
volunteer work of at least 80 hours a month to receive benefits.
Wow.
The other thing is that adults on the program who had a dependent child under the age of 18 previously were exempt. Now they have to be under the age of 14. Next, they removed the work requirement exceptions for homeless and veterans, and the people who are foster care youth, 24 years of age or younger. Those exemptions have completely gone away. So if you're homeless, too bad. You better volunteer at the shelter that you're staying at now, because that's what you're gonna have to do. And I think what else is gonna happen is they're going to make your proof of participating in being subject to these work requirements even more stringent in the terms of how much paperwork you have to fill out. Because part of the issue with people who are homeless, do you have a mailbox
Yeah.
to get these papers? They're gonna be sending you stuff. You're not getting it. You don't have an ability to, drive it somewhere.
Right.
Are you able to mail it just a whole bunch of hoops extra that you're gonna have to jump through to qualify. It's gonna effectively kick a lot of people off the program,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what
That's
they
what they
wanted
want,
to do.
yeah.
Okay.
And Channing, I'm assuming that they're not going to have resources available to help people navigate the new.
Right.
You're just gonna be like on your own trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, because a lot of those notices, they put our information at the end of it.
Mhm.
Call Lone Star, because instead of the agency doing what they're supposed to do
Right.
and helping people, they just want to send you off to some other third party to try to
Right.
help you navigate it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And that third party is fighting for federal dollars anyway. That they're
Right.
cutting back on.
And
Yeah.
HHSC they've already lost a lot of their staff just with like the pandemic and a whole bunch of different things.
Mhm.
So they're even more limited. They're taking longer to make decisions on
Yeah.
things. There's a lot of delays with just people even applying for the first time let alone them processing all this additional paperwork that's gonna be coming in. They're making errors, they're not calculating things correctly, they're receiving documents, they're not associating it with the right case, a whole bunch of just, it's a mess.
Talking about chaos. Lord.
So where do you see Lone Star at this point with all the cuts and per se the layoffs and people taking the severance package?
Mm.
It's gonna take longer.
So. Hold that thought. Okay. Okay, the changes to Medicaid. This is gonna be huge for Texas because right now, we don't have a work requirement to receive Medicaid. Now they're going to add one. So the same work requirements that you have for SNAP, you're also going to have those to qualify for Medicaid in the state of Texas. So beneficiaries are gonna need to work, attend school, or perform at least 80 hours of community service each month in order to even get Medicaid now, which is, I mean, that's a huge difference.
But
Wait a minute,
If-
hold on, go back again.
The work requirements are not just gonna apply to, they're making the SNAP work requirement more stringent. But right now in Texas, there are no work requirements to qualify for Medicaid. You're either income eligible, you're, disabled, again, you're a pregnant woman, you have children, etc. There's no requirement for you to be in a work training program or volunteer 80 hours a month. Those things are all gonna change. So in order to even get this Medicaid, and they're gonna hold adults responsible for the children. And that's gonna be very detrimental, because if your parent is not following these rules, they're probably gonna try to kick the children off. That's really what I foresee in the future.
Right.
So it's gonna be the parents and the children who are no longer eligible. And boy, right now what we have is that you as an adult, you can be kicked off your Medicaid for not participating, but most adults know that they're not gonna kick the children off. I can't say that that's gonna continue.
Mm.
I see it all, I saw it all the time when I worked with the Office of Attorney General, when they referred the cases. They would refer them because they were receiving Medicaid, and technically, if they failed to cooperate, they would threaten to, kick them off Medicaid. Well, the parents always knew, you might take me off as the adult, but you're not gonna take the children off, and that's always what happened.
Yeah.
This is probably gonna change that, and so if you don't participate, your kids aren't gonna get the Medicaid, and that's gonna be very serious
Yep.
consequences.
Different time, different administration, different reality.
But that's
ma'am.
change. It wouldn't affect me.
Why not?
I thought I'm asking.
It is. It's
Well,
gonna
I
affect
think it's
everybody
better.
who's getting the benefit. As of 2026, these are the changes that are gonna impact anybody who is receiving these benefits. So,
So people get on Medicaid
Mhm.
because they have physical issues and they need support and assistance, correct? So those persons are now gonna have to work, go to school or perform 80 hours of community service, although they already have physical issues there, which is why they're on Medicaid in the first place.
right, and now the thing that it doesn't really say, but I know that they're trying to change,
Mhm.
is exemptions even for people who have disabilities. Again, people who are older,
Yeah.
they're still trying to force them into the work requirement. So we're gonna see
Yeah.
how that goes with those exemptions. The other thing is that reassessing eligibility for Medicaid, usually it's something you do annually, just like you have to do with any other health insurance you apply for. Now you're going to have to recertify every 6 months, which again, just means more paperwork, more notices that you have to pay attention to, or else they're gonna kick you off. You'll
Yeah.
have to start all over again. There's gonna be a gap between when you reapply versus when you get it, because again, they're short staffed processing applications. It's just gonna roll people right off a cliff, and a lot of people are just gonna opt out. That's another thing. Not only are they gonna get kicked off, but they're just gonna get overwhelmed with the amount of things that they have to do to qualify, and they're just not going to even bother.
Well,
And that's the other thing they want. So they're like, either we're gonna kick you off, or we're gonna make it so time consuming and so many hoops to jump through
Yeah.
that you just won't even apply
Yeah.
for it. Either way, that's really what the ultimate goal is. I did want to address what she said. Maybe I'll reiterate it to her,
Okay.
but in terms of legal aid right now, our major funder is the Legal Services Corporation, which is a nonprofit that generally speaking has bipartisan support. But the majority of the funding for Lone Star Legal Aid comes from the government.
Mhm.
So right now, we are in limbo because of the government shutdown and
Yeah.
also because of the proposals that have been made to our budget. So I'm gonna say that, there are a lot of changes happening with Lone Star Legal Aid right now because we are actively losing funding from outside sources, other nonprofits, grants that we are receiving because they're also losing money.
Mhm.
And then also, it's very up in the air what is gonna happen with our budget next year. And
Right.
depending on what our budget is.
Yep.
That's gonna impact how much staff we can employ. These are the kinds of issues that we try to help people with. If Lone Star ceases to exist.
Yep.
Because we don't get funded,
Yes, ma'am.
these people are not gonna have anybody to help them.
Yep.
Right.
So it's very crucial what's happening. And unfortunately, there's not a lot that we can do about it. But it is important that, people just know what's going on and try to inform themselves as much as possible. All of the information that I spoke about can really be found on the internet at, just by Googling. It's called the Texas Works Handbook and it has all the program rules, but if we're here to provide this information or this assistance, people are gonna have to become even more, self-motivated
Yeah.
to inform themselves and to advocate for themselves.
And I'm okay with them making sure that people aren't ripping the system off.
For
I'm
sure.
okay with that.
For sure.
But in your effort to do so, you cannot make the lives of those who really need it legitimately hell.
Yes.
And this is a cast a wide net catch all.
Yeah.
And there seems to be very little, if any, concern about we're going to hurt people who need help because they're trying to get other people
Right.
off, which is
And like,
part of the evil thing.
as my mom always says, you can't throw the baby out with the
With the
bathwater. So, yes, there is some fraud in these programs, but that is actually not the majority. And here's the thing, if they really wanted to prevent fraud, they need to put more safeguards in place on their end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
ultimately the rules are what the rules are. You all do more checking and more investigating before even qualifying people for these things. If you're trying to prevent certain things, but at the end of the day, with any benefit program, anything in this world, there's always gonna be people who are committing fraud.
That's
I
right.
mean, that's just, some people are just like that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away from the legitimacy of
No.
all of the people,
Yeah.
particularly working people who really need these benefits. Cause like I said, it's a myth that everybody who's receiving these benefits is just sitting on their hands at home, not doing anything. They're already working, so they don't really need to volunteer 80 hours. They're already working, they're already struggling. And
Yeah.
they need these benefits.
Yes, ma'am.
So that concludes my presentation. Any other questions?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And also, do you have anyone at Lone Star that could come and explain all of that big, beautiful video?
Oof, good question. I need to find somebody.
That I'll have to talk to my managing attorney about. I don't know. Maybe because all of us don't even really know
Yeah.
what everything's.
You probably have to break down the different areas of the big beautiful bill. They bring people in to talk about different.
Right.
areas. That would have to be a series.
And I think the other thing is that because of the nature of our job, we can't get too much into the politics
Politics.
of it all.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's gonna definitely yield a political conversation,
Yeah.
because it is. And it's based around that, so I think it might be a kind of iffy topic, controversial that we even, I did talk to my managing attorney about even mentioning the big beautiful bill, cause I obviously have my own thoughts about it that I cannot share here.
Yeah.
But I just have to say what it is,
Yeah. Okay, so we did not make our deadline.
I
So in closing, this is why we do what we do. Because God knows there is a lot taking place that's going to affect millions of people. A lot of those people are like us. This highlights the need for community. And I'll say this in closing, the programs that they are cutting back on, the monies that people need to survive that they're cutting out. If they were not trying to give millionaires and billionaires a tax cut, that money could go to fund all the programs that are currently. So this doesn't have to happen. And this is why it's so important that we vote. Because when you don't vote, when you don't pay attention, when you have a hands-off approach, when you think it doesn't matter, you get a Donald Trump. You get an administration that does not care about you, your pain, your suffering, your tears. You get a Project 2025. You get a group of people who have an agenda and a plan that's anti-you and yours. They don't care. So we have to understand the reality that we find ourselves in, and we have to mobilize and organize. And community is going to have to step up in multiple areas. We're organizing a series of Zoom meetings right now where we're dealing with 5 areas: food, security, economics and finance, politics, and youth development. And there's a lot of areas, but those are the 5 that we think are going to impact people the most. Because if people can't eat, if people can't get the money that they normally get to eat, they're going to eat.
One way or another.
One way or another. So crime is going to go up. It is going to go up. And we have to deal with, as we call them in our organization, we call them melanated Negro savages. Because that's what they are. They're melanated Negro savages. They're terrorists in your own community. We're going to have to deal with enemies within and enemies without. Because people are going to come from the outside in because they see us as a problem. And this is going to become a problem. So the food, the security, we got to find a way to create our own revenue stream. There's no way that after 75 years, you guys are teetering on not existing. Because you exist for a reason. So we got to find a way to fund the things that we need, which we can't do if we're not garnering our own local resources. And I tell people all the time, multiple millions flow through our communities because we give the millions away. We got to change that behavior. And we have to find a way to elect people that are already working in the community, people that care, not people who come from the outside in that we don't know. Like you said, when our sister Dominique came to speak, we don't know you. And we don't know you, not because you're a bad person, but because we've never seen you. And then we have to train our youth to understand you exist in an environment that's anti-you. You gotta think and act and move differently. And all this stuff is real in 2025. And it is not going to get any better anytime soon because the people that are doing all of this stuff, they got a plan. And you ain't a part of that plan.
While we're sleeping, they're thinking.
100%. On that note, Ms. Fontenot, we're gonna thank Sister Channing again for being here. Thank you very much. We will be in touch.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing out the other guests. We appreciate it. We'll see y'all next Thursday. Take care. God bless.
Engagement.